day 15 of our readings for Lent 2021, and I hope you've been following the story so far. We finished yesterday with 2 Chronicles where the people were conquered by Babylon and taken off into exile. And those last 2 verses I mentioned in 2 Chronicles gave hope that they would one day return. Well, today we move on to the book of Ezra, and the first 2 verses of Ezra are exactly the same as the last 2 verses of 2 Chronicles. And Ezra will be the story of the exiles returning after 70 years. Now, Ezra is associated with Nehemiah, 2 books together. Now, we mentioned before that the 1 and 2 Samuel and 1 and 2 Kings were originally one book that got divided. Well, Ezra and Nehemiah were separate books, and in some circumstances they were put together, even being called 1 and 2 Ezra in some places. But since the King James Bible was published in 1611, they have been 2 separate books. So the book of Ezra, which we're looking at today, talks about the return. It quotes lots of official documents like the decree of Cyrus, the response of Artaxerxes, who were kings at that time. The decree of Cyrus starts the book, and it's the decree where Cyrus, the king at the time, says you may return from exile and go back to Jerusalem. And we'll read that in a moment. And initially Zerubbabel leads the people back, and then later on Ezra himself will lead more people back. Ezra is a priest. He will come back to Jerusalem to teach the people the law. He gets them, finds that they haven't all been following all of God's laws, so he has a bit of sorting out to do with the community. But this is the story, and we'll continue the story of the rebuilding of Jerusalem tomorrow with Nehemiah. What I want to do today is just read 2 passages, so a little different. I want to read 2 short passages. That one right at the beginning, the decree of Cyrus, and which tells of the people being allowed to come back. And then a passage in chapter 8 where Ezra himself returns. So let's read those. So Ezra 1, the first 5 verses. In the year of Cyrus, king of Persia, in order to fulfill the word of the Lord spoken by Jeremiah, the Lord moved the heart of Cyrus, king of Persia, to make a proclamation throughout his realm and to put it in writing. This is what Cyrus, king of Persia, says. The Lord, the God of heaven, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he has appointed me to build a temple for him at Jerusalem in Judah. Any of his people among you may go up to Jerusalem in Judah and build the temple of the Lord, the God of Israel, the God who is in Jerusalem, and may their God be with them. And in any locality where survivors may now be living, the people are to provide them with silver and gold and goods and livestock, and with freewill offerings for the temple of God in Jerusalem. So God moves the heart of a Persian king to allow the exiles to return. Persia conquering Babylon by this time. Now chapter 8 and verses 21 to 23. This is Ezra speaking. There by the Ahava canal I proclaimed a fast so that we might humble ourselves before our God and ask him for a safe journey for us and our children with all our possessions. I was ashamed to ask the king for soldiers and horsemen to protect us from the enemies on the road, because we had told the king, the gracious hand of our God is on everyone who looks to him, but his great anger is against those who forsake him. So we fasted and petitioned our God about this, and he answered our prayer. There are times where God may move the secular authorities to be favourable to his people. But there is always a limit to how far we put our trust in the secular authorities. And we need discernment to know when God has moved the hearts of the authorities to bless his people, and we will give thanks for that and receive. But there is a limit and a time where we have to say no, because it is in God we trust, and he is faithful. Until tomorrow, have a blessed day.